Namaskar. Welcome to this session. Today we are commencing to understand the second of the Niyama, Santosha. Again, Santosha is unfortunately rendered into English as contentment. And by contentment, one takes to mean it as contentment in the mind. So, that is not the case here. Like we often end up expressing that I am contented. This gives contentment to me. That gives contentment to me. We are contented, they are contented, I am contented. So, this is what is our idea of Santosha here. But that is not the case. This should be understood. It is because basically this Santosha is coming in the realm of Chitta, the first thing. Second thing, this contentment is of Adhyatma, Paramartha, and not contentment in mundanity. Our contentment depends upon our desire satisfaction. If our desires are satisfied, we get contentment. Now, it should be understood that desire is Heya Paksha in yoga. Desire is antithesis in yogic process. You cannot be nurturing desires. So, the contentment that we understand as mortals, worldly people, mundane people is that it is desire fulfillment. When our desires are fulfilled, aspirations are fulfilled, we get a state of mind, and that is referred to as contentment. And that is contentment of the mind. So also psychologically, it is said in yoga psychology that bhogottara, there is tatkalin upashanti. So when you have your desires fulfilled, there is always a temporary contentment. Now we very well know that it is not everlasting contentment. So whenever you make an expression, I am contented, I have contentment, we know it is impermanent, it is temporary, it is ephemeral. Because again the new desire would bubble up. When the new desire bubbles up, we will have to wait for that desire to be satisfied. So we are only used to some temporary contentment, and that is not being referred to here. Because all such contentments are ephemeral, temporary, perhaps momentary. So that's why at the outset it should be mentioned that reference is not to contentment, but the reference is to Santosha in Chitta, and this is a kind of Santosha which entails Anushthanam. See, otherwise we don't have practice for contentment. We get contented. Now this is getting contented doesn't have any practice to support. Because our contentment is based on desire satisfaction, so there might be effort to satisfy the desires. So efforts are to satisfy the desires, and contentment is an outcome. Whereas this is Ashtanga Sadhana and then Ashtanga Anushthanam. And therefore something is being mentioned which can be understood as at least practice. There is something to practice for santushtata or santosha. It is not a state of mind that comes out of desire satisfaction, desire fulfillment. And that's why I am making it clear at the outset that we have to understand the word Santosha here as a technical term, because the reference is not to mental satisfaction or mental contentment which comes and goes in this world. For every one of us, somewhere we get contentment, and again after a while it gets evaporated or vaporizes. So we will have to get the contentment often in life. We have to get contentment often in life, which is desire based. That is why in Adhyatma, in the literature of saints, it says Chitti Asudyave Smaadhana. This is one of the great saint of Maharashtra has said it. And in very primary state of Adhyatma, very primary level of Adhyatma, it is suggested that we must be contented with what we have and not get contented by what we get and what we keep on getting. Different things we get in our life, different kinds of desires are fulfilled in our life. So we will be trying to get the contentment, and we'll make endeavor to get that contentment to make our desire get fulfilled, and that will be keeping us frantically busy in mundanity. So we'll be frantically busy in mundanity because the desires go on bubbling up, desires go on getting churned up, and every time every desire has to be satisfied. And that's why we will be hectically busy, occupied, and frantically busy in getting contented every time. So in very primary Adhyatma, it is suggested that we must be contented with what we have. This is a very primary aspect. So it is contented condition in life. This should be understood. It is not just getting contentment now and then, and the mental contentment is such that it lasts for a very short time. When your one desire is fulfilled, you are contented for a while, and then it is like spirit or petrol which vaporizes or evaporates, and then we have to wait for another desire to get satisfied. So again we will have contentment. So the Santosha is kind of Smaadhana. We must be having the contentment and not going for contentment. But when we are trying to get contentment in prapanchik life, samsarik life, aihik life, then we will never be really getting that contentment which is there to stay. That contentment is always there to come and evaporate and wait for another desire satisfaction, fulfillment, for another contentment to come up. So those who are worldly people, prapanchik people, ahik people, samsarik people, those have mundane vritti, mundane state of mind, they at the most should or may learn a lesson that we must remain contented with whatever we have. So life teaches little wiser people that contentment should not be sought. Contentment must be had. And you have to be contented with what you have. So, this contentment that is being spoken of will never be churned out in mundanity of life. The objects cannot be giving the contentment of the nature that we are discussing. Otherwise, the objects can give contentment which is very, very, very temporary. So there are expressions such as Smaadhana to be considering that we have it. Either we may consider that we have contentment, or we will have to search contentment. So when we search contentment and when we think that we are contented, then that is not the contentment that is spoken of here. So it would be abhasa. If you have contentment, it would be deceptive contentment. When it is of the worldly realm, when it depends upon worldly experience, depends upon worldly objects. If the contentment is depending upon the objects, the Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasadi, Vishayas, then it would be deceptive. Anyway, the contentment that has been spoken of here is of such a nature that the explosive aspects in our mind are detonated. So basically, Adhyatma says whatever you have in your praktana, whatever is in your destiny, that should be considered that it is for our ultimate good. So that will be basis of remaining contented, come what may in life, out of destiny. Although it might be either inclement condition or claimant condition, even if it is inclement condition, the Adhyatma will give us a kind of approach that we will say that this is ultimately for my good, or this is good for me ultimately. Although it is apparently not good and tormentation or harassment or an inclemency, ultimately it is for my good. So this kind of counseling comes to mind when one is in Adhyatma. So it should be understood this way. Think that you are contented and be contented. What is the difference? So sometimes we think we are contented in Adhyatmic pursuit. Otherwise we try to go for getting contentment. That means we frantically try to satisfy our desire and then get contented. So we make an endeavor to get contented in worldly realm, or we think that we are contented, or we project that we are contented, or we are contented. So we have to understand what is really the condition in our mind. Are we thinking that we are contented, or are we going for contentment, or we think that we are already contented? Now, why I am saying that this contentment is, or Santosha precisely, is totally different. Now I will give you the very moot factor here as to why I am repeatedly saying that this is not the contentment that a worldly man gets in life, or may get in life, or may think has got in life. Because it should be understood that basically this is depending on Sattva Shuddhi. So the Santosha that is ensuing from Sattva Shuddhi is being referred to, not the contentment coming out of desire satisfaction, objective satisfaction, objective accomplished. That satisfaction is not being referred to. And usually our contentment in life is based on such a thing, that our desires are satisfied, or we think that we are satisfied, and such satisfaction is absolutely something like spirit or petrol which quickly vaporizes or evaporates. But as I've been mentioning you even while discussing Shaucha and Antashuddhi there, when we came to Antashuddhi, we came to that point of Sattva Shuddhi. And this Santosha is ensuing out of that Antashaucham, or generally the Shaucha. So this should be Shaucha generated contentment and not desire satisfaction kind of contentment. We are familiar with the latter one because we are body and bundle of desires, and sometimes our desires are satisfied and sometimes not satisfied. When we are not satisfied, we are discontented. When they are satisfied, we are contented. And therefore I am telling you that this contentment is not of that kind which we get in the worldly realm. This must have roots in Shaucha, Antashaucha and Sattva Shuddhi. So that's the distinctive factor of this Santosha that is being spoken of. So it entails Sattva Shuddhi, and we have elaborately discussed Sattva Shuddhi in our earlier session. So by Anta Shaucha comes Sattva Shuddhi, and then comes, we have seen, Saumanasya, Ekagriya, Indriyajaya, Atmadarshana, Yogyatva, which Patanjali has postulated, and therefore this Santosha is also the one which is harvested in Sattva Shuddhi, which is harvested in Chitta Shuddhi, Sattva Shuddhi, and not harvested out of desire satisfaction or desire accomplishment. So I have given the final point of why this Santosha is not contentment in the psychological realm that we sometimes have and many times don't have. So this must be finding roots in Antashaucha, Chitta Shuddhi, Buddhi Shuddhi, Bhava Shuddhi, Antakarana Shuddhi, which is called as Sattva Shuddhi. Now, therefore, how will this Santosha come up? If Sattva Shuddhi has a sadhana, now we should recall that when we discuss Sattva Shuddhi, we definitely considered sadhana. That we must inculcate values of yajna, dana, tapas. There must be sangatraya, satsanga, shastra sanga, sadhana sanga. Then there must be ahar, vihar, achar, vichar. So we can now very well understand that there is some sadhana in antashaucha. And that sadhana has been crystallized in our earlier occasion where we considered Sattva Shuddhi. So this Santosha ensues from that. So at the root of this Santosha there will be Satsangatrayi, Achar Vicharadi Chatushtya, Yajna Dana Tapas Trayi, and Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharira Sadhana. To open out these sadhana aspects, the bracket of it, it is asana sadhana, pranayam sadhana, japa sadhana, dhyana sadhana, karma yoga sadhana, jnana yoga sadhana, bhakti yoga sadhana, dhyana yoga sadhana, adhyatmic sadhana, paramarthik sadhana. And then in the yoga technology, there are prana kriyas, bandhas, mudras, kriyas, chakra kriya, tattva kriya, etc. So these are the practices. Now to be contented in life, we don't have any practice. Usually we have to believe that we are contented, or we have to deem that we are contented. We don't put up any practice for being contented. Whereas here the Santosha entails a practice, and it is based on a practice. The practice is, as I just now told you, Satsangadi Trayi, Ahar Vicharadi Chatushtya, Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharir Sadhana, Yoga Sadhana. And we have to do something to our Jiva Rasayani, that is biochemistry. The biochemistry must be sublimated. And then we have to do something for Chitta Shuddhi, Bhava Shuddhi, Sattva Shuddhi, Buddhi Shuddhi. And then that will harvest the Santosha that is being spoken of here. As I said, the Santosha that we get even in our worldly realm for we mundane people is, as I said, is temporary, and it is not based on Atma Sampada or Daivi Sampada. And therefore we have the concept of to deem that we are contented. And usually that is found even in neophyte's plane of Adhyatma. Now, about this Santosha, because it has basis in Adhyatmic Paramarthik processes, Patanjali ends up saying in 2.42, Santoshat Anuttama Sukhalabha. Our Santosha doesn't give us Anuttama Sukhalabha. Our contentment doesn't give us unexceedable pleasure and delight. But this Santosha gives Anuttama Sukhalabha. And therefore this concept of Santosha is totally different than the popular concept or concept that we literally construe. Because in contentment you might stretch it to any extent. Your imagination can be stretched to any extent, but you will never reach the plane which Patanjali mentions, Santoshat Anuttama Sukhalabha. The point is, this Santosha is out of Antashaucha. It is out of Shuchi Sadhana, Shaucha Sadhana, Shaucha Prakriya, Bahya and Antashaucha, Bahya and Abhyantara Shaucha. So we must understand this Shaucha has totally a different background. Our contentment doesn't have this background. As I have been repeatedly telling you, our contentment depends upon our desire satisfaction, desire gratification. When the desires are gratified and satisfied, we get contentment. Where is the any kind of purity there or shaucha there? There is no shaucha. But this Santosha is out of shaucha. That is the distinctive factor here, which must be understood. So by practicing antarbahya shaucha, the Santosha will emanate. And for antarbahya shaucha, the yoga prakriya, the yogic process is incredible. It has astonishing range of practices by which one can get the internal purification as well as a unique external purification. It is biochemically generated, electrochemically generated, consciousness generated, and yoga has unique process for this Santosha. Otherwise, usually in pseudo spiritualism, they just deem, they just feel, they just deem that they are contented. But there is no reinforcement by way of practices. Whereas in yoga technology, you have yogasana kriya, yoga kriya, mudra, prana kriya, pranayam, japa, prananvit japa, the japa merged with prana, and then japa, prana, dhyana combination, chakra kriya, tattva kriya, then the granthi-trayi shuddhi, the jiva rasayani purificatory processes, electrochemical purificatory processes. So all these are coming to assist to get this essential kind of contentment. And that's why this Santosha stands out. See, the Chitta becomes free from vritti and vasanas like absolutely clear sky at night. Then that sky is incredibly bewitching with moon and stars at night in the sky. Absolutely clear skies. Then the beauty of the sky is totally different because of the moon and the stars and planets. So similarly, with no clouds of vasanas, the consciousness would be a clear sky inside, what is called as Chidakasha, internal space. That space, Akasha, that space would be free from any tainting factors such as vasana, vritti. So just as clear sky is a beautiful sight, this clear consciousness, cloud-free Chitta, that means free from vasanas and vrittis, it would be resulting into contentment. Just as clear sky at night gives us delight and happiness, the sky studded with stars and planets and nebulae and galaxies, it gives a delight and happiness to our eyes. Similarly, clear sky in the heart would give Santosha. That is the kind of Santosha which is being discussed here. And now you can understand the role of pranayam for such contentment. Because pranayam is said to be clearing the clouds in the mind. Tatah kshiyate prakashavaranam. And therefore you can understand how this contentment has bearing with pranayam. How this contentment has bearing with clear mind, clean mind, transparent mind, antashuchi, antashaucha of the mind, and the Chitta Shuddhi and Sattva Shuddhi. Now this Smaadhana is based on the Adhyatma, Adhyatmic sadhanas. What are those? Those are Jnana Margiya sadhana, Jnana sadhana, Bhakti Margiya sadhana, Bhakti sadhana, Seva Margiya sadhana, the Seva sadhana, the Karma Yoga sadhana, and the wisdom that is harvested in such a field of mind which is cultured by Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, which is also nurtured by Dharma, Jnana, Vairagya, the Daivi Sampada, Atma Sampada. So therefore this should be understood as an divine endowment or a consequence of divine endowment, which are described in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita called Daivasura Sampatti Vibhaga Yoga. Therein one of the classes is called Daivi Sampada. Opposite of it is called Asuri Sampada. We must be free from Asuri Sampada and we must be studied with Daivi Sampada. And then what comes out, that is Santosh. That is being referred to here. Anyway, in the philosophy as well, the Santosha has been advocated. So, and that is often described in the intuitive mysticism, and there is a beautiful expression by Sri Jnaneshwar Maharaj, Tukaram Maharaj, such saints, Ananda se dohi Ananda Taranga. So that it is bliss profused state which comes out of this Santosh. Anyway, in the practicality of life, with the counseling of Dharma prevailing on us, what is that? Santosh. I recall a verse from Surya Purana in 12.11, Yadrucha Labha Santushta Tushtiruchyate. Yadrucha Labha. That means whatever you get by destiny, it might be claimant or inclaimant, but you must remain contented. If it is inclaimant, how will you remain contented? This is my prospective good. It is not actually good now, but this is going to harvest some essential good in my life. And therefore, these mystic saints counter the inclement life conditions in life with this conviction that ultimately it is for my good. So that is Yadrucha Labha, Yadrucha, destiny, Praktan. And to be contented in it is what is being referred to as Santosha. Then if you look into the commentaries which have come on Yoga Bhashya, Vachaspati Mishra in Tattva Vaisharadi says that we must be contented with whatever essentials that we have for prana, for prana dharana. If something is keeping us living, we must feel ourselves fortunate for that, and we must be contented with it. So the bare minimum requirement is prana dharana. To be living, just living, is a basic requirement. Not the living based on some lifestyle, but merely bare living. We must be contented that the divinity has kept us living to experience the world. So we must be contented, which is that essential which is for prana trana. That means to sustain our life, to sustain our prana, and not to have desire for more than that. This is what Tattva Vaisharadi clarifies. There is another definition that comes in Yoga Sudhakara, a commentary. So Santosha is yatha labha paritushti. Whatever comes your way, to be contented to brim, paritushti. Now this is philosophized life. The mundane mortals won't get this. Mundane mortals definitely distinguish between inclement and clement condition. They will never see any happiness in inclement condition. They will only see happiness in clement condition. But our life is such, it's game of dice played by our own karmas. So sometimes the inclemencies will come our way. So whatever comes our way, whether it is palatable or unpalatable, whether it is clement or inclement, we must be contented. Because we should take that whatever is inclement is for our ultimate good. So then if you come to Vijnana Bhikshu's Yoga Vartika, he also has same opinion as Vachaspati Mishra has, where there you see there is sannyasa dharma. Because it is sannyasis who will look for bare minimum requirements. We worldly people, our bare minimum requirements are enormous. Sufficient money also is not sufficient. Because our concept of bare requirement is already lavish compared to the bare minimum requirement of an ascetic person. So Vachaspati Mishra and Vijnana Bhikshu have advocated the mendicancy or ascetic life. And then whatever comes our way as an ascetic person, we should be contented. And not only to be contented with what we have then, but also not to have any desire for more than that. That is sannyas dharma, sannyasta dharma. So, now coming to Manusmriti 4.12, Manu tells us whatever we get by yadrucha, that is by our destiny, we should try to search sukham, pleasure and delight and happiness there only. We should try to search happiness in what we have, whereas all our happiness lies in what we don't have. This is the plight of a worldly person. There is always no contentment with what one has. There is always contentment found in what one doesn't have, and therefore contentment would be only coming in having what we don't have. And then we get into that rat race of desire satisfaction, which is never completed, it doesn't have end point. So Manu tells us in Paramartha, we must be trying to search happiness. If we can't find happiness in what we have, we must search happiness and not try to search happiness in what we don't have. That would be devastating, and that would be going against any spiritual pursuit. At least we must be totally unagitated when we don't have psychological contentment because of inclemencies in life. At least we must take care to say that we don't become explosive. You will become unhappy, but never to become explosive in that unhappiness, because that would be very, very devastating. The point is, it is Vairagya Sadhana which is underlying this principle of Santosh, Prashna Tyaga, not to nurture, manure, thirst, Trushna, Vishaya Trushna. So at least what we can do is we have to carry out some management on the plane of Vishaya Trushna, the thirst for objects. So that is how we have to see the Santosh here, with the backdrop of Vairagya, and essential Vairagya, not Smashana Vairagya. If we do not have this contentment, our so-called practice of yoga is devastated, because we become explosive, and if we explode in dissatisfaction, it will devastate the yoga within us. Whatever we might be having, it will be totally devastated. And with this contentment, now understand how there would be ahimsa palana, satya palana. So for all those yamas to be of a genuine kind of class, basically we need this contentment. If you are discontented, there would be no chance of one practicing ahimsa of the nature Patanjali is expecting, and satya, asya, brahmacharya, parigraha that Patanjali is expecting. So I want you to understand this contentment, precisely Santosha, which is at the basis of entire yogic structure. Essential yogic structure is raised up on Santosh. Santosh means Prashna Tyaga, and that is Vairagya. Now, not being contented in the way Adhyatma Paramartha tells us, then it is really turbulent kind of conditioner. It is turbulence in our life if we are discontented. I recall a verse from Mahabharata Shanti Parva 12.276.6. There we come across a passage, a verse. In this world, whatever sukha is kamajanya, whatever sukha is turned out due to kamana, vasana, and whatever is the sukha in heavenly planes, swargiya sukha, that sukha is not even fraction of Trishna Nasha Rupi Sukha. This is a statement that comes from a seer in Mahabharata. So the terrestrial Sukha or celestial Sukha is no Sukha or is almost negligible Sukham compared to Sukha coming out of Trishna Nasha. End of all Trishna, end of all thirst. It is not even 1/16th, not even Shodashakala. It is not even a fraction of Sukham coming out of Vairagya, Sukham coming out of Trishna Kshaya. So Trishna Tyaga is the best way to pursue the essential Sukha, quintessential Sukha. And that is really the Sukha. Rest, everything is deceptive. All other Sukhas are deceptive, temporary. So Trishna Tyaga is a basic aspect in yoga, and with reference to Santosha, it gets reiterated that we must do something for Trishna Tyaga, Trishna Nasha, Trishna Kshaya. So that is what we have to understand the Santosha here. So today we have opened the portal of Santosha, and we have tried to understand it as to what essential Santosha or contentment is, which is always Adhyatmic. So we'll discuss on this in our following session. Enough for the time being. Namaskar all of you.